We'll hear people say that we should not bother memorizing syntax in programming, and I think it's actually a myth. And the reason for that is that a lot of the great developers who I know, they seem to know the language inside out, and that also means they are really good at memorizing things. They do memorize syntax, regardless of what anyone says. These people do memorize syntax because at the end of the day, they have to debug a lot of the things. So, for example, if you even write a prompt in AI, write me this function or do me something, um, you should be able to have a look at the code and then make sense. And then even if it works, you should still not completely rely on AI to change your code, because if you keep relying on AI to change your code, then you yourself are not doing much. Obviously, this is not really for experienced programmers because they already know, but memorizing not just syntax of the functions. A lot of the times, memorizing just knowing what parameters a certain function can take, what sort of errors it's going to throw. Just knowing these things off the top of your head really speeds up the development. So when someone comes and says, "Oh, you don't need to memorize this syntax. You don't need to do this," but you're actually just relying completely on something else. So relying on Google is not a bad thing, and copying pasting code from Google is not a bad thing. But for example, if there is a function called str length, um, and you need to just somewhere in your code you need to find the length of the string, you should already know that yeah, I can use this function. You don't need to go in AI, spend your credit, and then can you you know um, can you wrap this function around something so I can find out the length of an array or length of a string. But if you already know that function, array.length or string str.length, then you can just go ahead and write that yourself, and it really 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 tremendously speeds up things. And yeah, memorizing is not a problem, but excessively memorizing becomes a problem because you can kind of rely on Google. You don't need to know exactly what the function is called and all that, but they'll come over time. But knowing, kind of have some idea, it just speeds things up. You don't have to um, open AI, or you don't have to write a prompt. You don't have to do any of that. Just knowing in your head speeds things up when you're developing.